It's the YouTube home for BamaOnLine.com. Travis Reier, senior analyst for BOL, alongside site publisher Tim Watts. And Tim, some of the news, well, really the news Alabama fans were hoping for, as we have learned, Grant Nelson will be back for another season with Alabama men's basketball. Nelson, of course, coming off some heroic performances in the 2024 NCAA tournament. This is a big blank that Nate Oats wanted to fill looking ahead.
Yeah, I think the two biggest questions on the roster from the former roster was what would Grant Nelson do and what would Mark Sears do? And I mean, both of them are huge decisions that you want to be part of. Now, Mark's going to have a little bit more drama since he declared for the draft. Not drama, but he's going to have more anxiousness trying to figure out what's going on, uncertainty. But Grant, just skipping the draft process, got comfortable, wants to be at Tuscaloosa. And you kind of watched him last year. The guy came in with a lot of like Larry Bird comparisons. He had like, and his highlight tape was good. I think most people that watched him were a fan of his, but I think the expectations, including myself, were too high on Grant. I think we expected too much. That adjustment from where he was at to where he is. I mean, I think it was a little bit more than we thought. I also think during the SEC, he got in his head a little bit. I think at some point you start kicking yourself, and even the start of the NCAA tournament, Grant really wasn't, really didn't get off the first two games to a good start. But boy, those last three, you know what I mean? Those last three, I mean, you want to put tape, you want to put talent to tape. Those last three games against two of the best big men in the country. North Carolina's big, who was like 23, 24 years old, older guy. And then, of course, Klingon at Connecticut, who looks like he's going to be a top 5 pick. So, absolutely tremendous news for Alabama to get Grant back and to miss a lot of the drama that could have went with it.
Yeah, I think you hit on it too. The expectations were pretty astronomical
Yeah.
for Grant Nelson coming in because of the success he had had. And it was a step up. You talked about it. You're going into the SEC. You're not playing in a league like Grant had played in previously, a solid G5 league or, mid major type of league, but that's still a big jump to make. I think my personal vision of Grant Nelson at Alabama this past season was that he would shoot the three a little bit more proficiency with a little more proficiency, ended up around 27%. But boy, you said it late in the season, he hit some big ones. And you talk about heroic performances, the North Carolina game, that was his DMG, I call it, his Daniel Moore game. But then
Yeah.
also, even in the loss, the dunk on Klingon, although Klingon denied it was an actual dunk, it was a dunk.
It was
And
a dunk
this
on
is
your head.
this is a guy that, yeah, this is monumental for Alabama basketball.
I tell you what surprised me the most, like when he was struggling, was the lack of rebounding. That's what kind of got me. And I think that goes with confidence. And, if you don't have, if you're an offensive minded guy, if you don't have confidence on the offensive end, it often affects your defensive effort. And defense is effort. I mean, that's if you give 1,000% effort, you're obviously a better defender than someone not giving a lot of effort, even though they might be more talented. So effort was there. But we saw that the last 3 games. I mean, he had 30 plus rebounds in 3 games, double digits in two of them. A big knee. And also, it's not just, you can talk about Grant as a player, but the fit, Alabama needed bigs. I mean, I know he's not the ideal fit to defend a five, and not many people are the ideal fit to defend a five like Klingon. There's not a lot of guys like, hey, it's easy to guard him, or, the big boy from Purdue. Those guys are hard to guard, but you need those live bodies that can rebound. You get him, you get Aiden Sherrill, the forgotten, 6'11" monster post player who can shoot the three. So you've got a couple of guys in that 6'10", 6'11" range, giving you, doubling your total from 1 to 2 while you're still out there looking for more.
Yeah, there's still promise, absolutely, as we know where the transfer portal is involved for Alabama as well. And look, another thing I didn't really think about all that much going into last season was the potential for Grant to have to bang with true post, as you said, more so on the defensive end. I thought
Right.
of Grant as a four who you could play out on the floor and he could square up to the bucket because he can handle it so well and get into the paint off the bounce. But he did some things, I'm sure, that initially he didn't think he was going to have to do as much because you had some other bigs that you figured would be more of the five and he could be the four. I give him a lot of credit. You said it. He's not built in a way to really go get probably 12 to 15 rebounds a game in the SEC. But I'd never question the effort, really. He had some foul trouble issues at times. If he can clean that up, that would be big as well.
Yeah, and again, coming from a small town, small school, that type of thing, I mean, you're adjusting to a lot. The crowds are bigger, the confidence factor, everybody's faster than they were before. So you're dealing with a lot of things. But, again, I think that, this is a guy that, like last year when he hit the portal, very highly sought after. This year would have been the same thing. I really thought, at least part of me thought that he would test the NBA waters, as far as just seeing what his stock was and all that. But I think that he was comfortable enough to come back. And he said that after the Final Four, he kind of found his place on this team, and he kind of went, Grant was kind of like in the background as far as leadership goes. But towards the end of the season, he was a leader. And I think you're going to have that coming back next year because he's going to be BMOC. He's going to be the big man on campus. And there's going to be, helping Aiden Sherrill out and even Darian Reed and some of those young guys. He gets to be that bigger, older guy and hopefully have some help for him down in the post where he's
Yeah,
a little bit more
you think
comfortable.
about it, if you're assuming Jaron Stevenson, and that type of situation, right? Some continued growth from some guys like that. And you talk about the big three potentially, if you get Sears back to go along with Nelson and the other pieces that this team should have in place and anticipation, expectations, all those things. If it plays out like it could, Tim, this is going to be unlike really anything probably either you or I have seen in all these years of Alabama men's hoops.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at it, and I've been debating this, like how talented could this team be? I mean, obviously you're still waiting on Mark Sears and another piece to fall. But I get like there's Alabama had teams where there were 4 first round picks, right, on the same team. But they were always at different levels of first round picks. Roy Rogers as a freshman wasn't the same Roy Rogers that when he went as the first round. So it was kind of like different levels. They never had 4 guys that could go first round in the next draft. They never had, but they did have teams with a lot of upside and all. But what those teams didn't have, as great as they were and as much fun as we love to watch them and to watch them play, how talented they were, what they didn't have was 1 through 12, 1 through 10, even 1 through 8 in some scenarios that were very top heavy. And this group might not be as top heavy. You might not have 4 guys that'll be first round picks, but you got an eighth and ninth guy that can play pretty much anywhere in the country on this roster if it falls right. I mean, if Sears comes back alone, you're going to be at a different level than most teams. The guard play will be unreal. The way they use them, everybody can get touches. And then, of course, you got the big guys in there that are going to do their thing. And like you said, Jaron, Stevenson, he was a guy that's a year young for his class. So this next leap for him, this could be leap year for Stevenson. He could come into his own pretty easily.
Yeah, and this dynamic now with NIL is entirely different than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. Guys like Grant Nelson, you can stay and play that extra year. You don't need to just come out and go professional, perhaps because there is a carrot, even where overseas is concerned. Now with NIL, you can kind of have the best of all worlds. You can continue to develop at a very high level and at a place where your quality of life is going to be very good because, as we know, University of Alabama reinvest in terms of facilities and you know diet, conditioning, workouts, all those type of things. I mean, it's at a high level at a place like Alabama. Instead of maybe making a jump earlier than you would like, and perhaps taking a step back in that regard. And this sort of goes back to two, right? Nate Oats and maybe some lessons learned from even a year ago where Charles Bediako leaves, Javon Quinterly leaves. I'd say Nate Oats right now, Tim, looks like he's a pretty fast learner.
Yeah, learning on the job, as they say. I mean, capitalizing on that momentum, the Final Four. Again, very hot team talked about. Even that, they're a hot team being talked about because you go to the rival teams' message boards and they're telling you you're not good. They're telling you your basketball team's not good in May. That's how good your basketball team is. That they're even talking about it. So, but yeah, I mean, Quinterly had said he was coming back, got it, and I'm not judging him. I mean, it's the NIL age, and did what he had to do. financially, I think, and it wasn't a terrible decision, moving to Memphis. In hindsight, Alabama lost their only point guard on that team, and then Charles Bediako, their best five, their best post player, went in the draft. And again, I mean, it's just Quinterly said he's coming back. Bediako was not expected to be drafted, and he wasn't drafted. So you expected both of them back, and I think that was a fair expectation for Nate Oats. But now, no more. I mean, he's going to make sure that he's got as deep as he can get with that team. And again, the ability to capitalize on the Final Four because it's not just the Final Four, it's the visual. Because basketball fans who never saw Alabama against Connecticut, and that was an impressive game. I mean, in 12 NCAA tournament games where UConn went undefeated, Alabama played them the best. That's a statement in itself. There's no moral victories, but the moral victories, moral losses can help with your recruiting effort. I know that much.
No losses, just learning, as I was once told. And we would love to have you right here with us on the YouTube home for BamaOnline.com. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button for us too, if you don't mind. Turn on those notifications. You'll get all of our YouTube content as it drops right here on our YouTube channel for BamaOnline.com. And understanding, as big as this news is, to get Grant Nelson back, nothing is assured in college basketball. It's different. It's different than football, Tim, because there's variables that come into play. When you think about the NCAA tournament, it's not even as much about seeding sometimes as it is your draw. Things have to fall into place. You have to be playing the right basketball at the right time of year. But it does start with a roster. There's no doubt about that. And it looks like Nate's got Alabama in great shape once again.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the thing about the team you would like, and again, not a finished product, but what you like even now is you've got inexperience but talented, and you've got talented and experienced because we've seen like Coach Cal, I respect what he does. He gets major talent on his team. It's hard to have them ready when they're all that young and they're all gelling, and there's only 5 positions on the floor, and he's got 8 guys that are going to play in the league. So that's one way to do it, but it's hard to do it. We've seen teams be successful just with experience. Again, that San Diego State team that put Alabama's #1 overall ranked team in the tournament out was experience. Were they better? No, they're not going to have any guys drafted as high as Brandon Miller and probably not Noah Clowney or any of that, but they were experienced and they were tough and they defended well. So there's a lot to be said. That saying, it sounds so stupid. You don't know what you don't know. It's true. You don't know what it's like to defend in the tournament in the SEC until you do it. So that experience is a huge thing for a lot of these players.
No doubt about it. And Grant Nelson is going to bring that and more back to Alabama basketball for the 2024-2025 season. Anything else, Tim, before we get out of here?
No, that's it. I'll probably be seeing you soon, though. I think we might as well get us a studio apartment, one of those fold out beds that come out of the wall. You
Like
sleep on
Ed
your side.
TV,
Get us a
just
body
walk
pillow
around.
between us.
Yeah, on
Or
all
you
the
just
time.
we'll
Yeah,
just
we
do the
love it.
tube right. We'll just do the tube right from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like John Lennon to
Absolutely.
Yoko Ono, just straight from the bed.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
I'm ready. You want fries with that? Yes. All right. Yeah, I got you. All right. For Tim
All right.
Watts, Travis Reier, thanking you for joining us right here on the YouTube home for BamaOnline.com. Big news. Grant Nelson back with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Until next time, so long, everybody.